What's going on, Guardians? It's Tizzle here. In this video, I'm going to be breaking down my favorite Solar 3.0 Warlock build for this season. So the first thing we will go over is the aspects and fragments. Now, I've pretty much used the same things for a few grandmasters with some slight tweaks here and there. So I'm going to go over some different build options that you could use and what works where, but I'll show you what I have found to be my favorite combination of things. So first of all, I run Well of Radiance. It's great in Grandmasters and high-end content, obviously. It's got a super low base cooldown, and it's just an awesome super to use. We're using the exotic chess piece Starfire Protocol, which I'll get to later, but you always want to use Empowering Rifts with that. I use Burst Glide because I'm using Icarus Dash, so it's really nice for movement. I'm using Celestial Fire. You would think you would want Incinerator Snap because Scorch... this melee does Scorch and Ignitions, but it doesn't have very good range, so I find Celestial Fire just works better, especially if you're doing the melee that gives you Radiant. We won't be in this build, but if you were, I would suggest Celestial Fire. And in higher end content, it's just nicer to have a longer range melee. Fusion Grenades, obviously, because that's also working with Starfire Protocol. For aspects, we have Icarus Dash. I don't use Heat Rises because I pretty much stick to the ground, so that's really nice. It's also good for just getting away from like grenades from Cabal, and there's at least 3 Cabal strikes this season with Warden of Nothing, Insight Terminus, and Proving Grounds. So Icarus Dash is really good just for getting out of a quick jam and running away from enemies. Touch of Flame, this will make your fusion grenade explode twice. It also enhances firebolt grenades, solar grenades, and healing grenades. But the explosion twice on fusion grenades is really awesome for doing big damage. So obviously you want to be running Touch of Flame. So for fragments, there's a few ways you can go. When I was trying to solo Proving Grounds at first, I had whatever one gives you powered melee attacks against combatants make you and nearby allies radiant. So this will give you radiant, which is a 25% weapon boost. It's really nice having that anytime you just toss a melee out, and it's very easy to land a Celestial Fire melee. However, I don't think weapon damage is what you want to spec into with this build, and I will go over why here shortly. So let's talk about what I am running. So first we have Ember of Char. Your solar ignition spreads Scorch to affected targets. Everything about this build is building into ignitions. Ignitions are insanely powerful. They do amazing ad clear. Even in Grandmaster content, I've soloed Proving Grounds and Insight Terminus now, and I have seen just how effective they can be. And even after this season, when these artifact mods go away, that being Solar Fulmination and Revitalizing Blast, this build will still hold up and be awesome at giving ignitions, and I will go over why. So next, we apply more Scorch stacks to targets. This is the biggest thing. So to get an ignition, you need 100 stacks of Scorch, and I believe the fusion grenades at base give 40 stacks. It'd be really nice if Bungie put these values into the game, but they don't, but I'm pretty sure that's what it is. So anyways, when you run Ember of Ashes, that will make your Scorch stacks go from 40 to 60. And Starfire Protocol gives you 2 fusion grenades, so 60 times 2 is 120. So if you get 2 grenades on one target, you will ignite them. On lower tier red bars, you won't really do this, and in low tier content, you won't do this. But in Grandmaster content, this is extremely strong and effective. And on things like champions, it's really nice. You can get an ignition off on any champion. It's very strong. Next, I have Ember of Wonder. Rapidly defeating multiple targets with solar ignitions generates an orb of power. This isn't that important, but the plus 10 resilience is really nice. I'm sure you know, but resilience got a buff. So if we look at it here, 100 resilience gives 40% damage reduction. That is crazy. If we take it down to 90, you only get 32. So you always want to be running 100 resilience in your Grandmasters if you can. I would say that's the most important thing to spec into. Recovery and discipline are important, but they're not that important because I'll go over how Starfire Protocol can keep these at pretty much maximum uptime. But anyways, I run this. If you didn't need the plus 10 resilience and you could still get 100, you could run Ember of Blistering. Defeating targets with solar ignition grants grenade energy. So you would chuck a couple grenades onto, say, a champion and it ignites. And then those ignitions would grant you grenade energy. So that could be good. Or you could run Ember of Searing. Defeating scorched targets grants melee energy. But I prefer to go with this for the plus 10 resilience, and orbs are just nice for getting your super. And then we have Ember of Eruption. Your solar ignitions have increased area of effect. Since we're building fully into ignitions, we might as well have them do the greatest area of effect possible. Plus it gives plus 10 to strength. So I'll go over these one more time. Your solar ignition spreads Scorch to affected targets. You apply more Scorch to targets. Your ignitions will generate orbs of power, and your ignitions have increased area of effect. So with these four, every time we ignite something, we're getting like the max damage and area of effect as possible. So to make this build even better this season, there's a couple artifact mods in Revitalizing Blast. Stunning a champion causes it to ignite and clears your shield stun. So every time you stun a champion, you get an ignition. So this is extremely strong, but obviously this won't be there next season. And then we have Solar Fulmination. Your ignitions do increased damage in an increased radius. So again, we're increasing the damage and radius of our ignitions. So that just makes it even more powerful this season. So I talked about you want 100 resilience, and now I'll go over why, yes, you still want these. Like, recovery is important for getting your health back quickly. Discipline, obviously, because the whole build is based around using your grenade. But if we look at Starfire Protocol, it says fusion grenades have an additional charge and recharge from empowered weapon damage. Fusion grenade kills grant rift energy. So what you do is you put down a rift, and then as you're dealing damage from your rift, you're getting grenade energy back. This is extremely strong, and the grenade recharge rate is extremely fast. And then the fusion grenade kills grant rift energy. So you do damage in your empowering rift. You get 2 grenade charges. You whip one fusion grenade at a red bar and kill it, and then boom, your rift energy is granted right back. So then you can put down another rift, deal weapon damage, toss grenades, rinse, repeat. It's a very easy cycle to use, even in grandmasters. Because of Touch of Flame, your fusion grenades can take out most red bars. So Starfire Protocol is honestly S tier this season. I'm adding this in post-commentary because this is one of the most important aspects of the build, and I realized I forgot to mention it, but this build almost negates ammo economy. The fusion grenades and the subsequent ignitions deal a ton of damage, especially on the Nightfalls with Solar Burn. In the Insight Terminus Nightfall, that boss is extremely tanky, but you can have almost unlimited fusion grenades if you're putting your Empowering Rift down and then just dealing primary damage. Then you just whip grenades and get grenade plus ignition damage. It's actually crazy how much damage these grenades do, and you have near infinite uptime. So I just wanted to add that in, that this is what makes this build so good in high-end content, because you don't need ammo drops to get things done. You can still do a ton of damage just with your primary if you're using the build right. So that's pretty much the stat splits. Now I'll go over what I ran just this past week in the Insight Terminus. These can change a little, but running Ashes to Assets is really nice because you gain super energy on grenade kills. And Well of Radiance obviously is really good in high-end content. So this is very strong, but if you're wanting to use your weapons more, I was running a machine gun. I could have run machine gun ammo finder. In Proving Grounds, I was running two linear fusion rifles actually, Arbalist and Cataclysmic. So you could run linear fusion ammo. So this, you don't need it, but this is what I like to run. And then High Energy Fire, which I'll show you how we get that. And what that does is it gives you a 20% weapon damage boost when you're charged with light. On the gloves, I have just enough space here, so it's really nice. So I could run Overload Trace Rifle as well as whatever, and then Unstoppable Scout if I wanted, or whatever. With this setup, you can have pretty much any combination you need. You can have a 3 stunner and a 1 stun for whatever champions are in the Grandmaster. I've got Elemental Ordnance, where defeating a combatant with a grenade spawns an elemental well that matches your subclass energy type. So we're getting lots of grenade kills, so we'll be spawning lots of solar elemental wells. On the chest piece, now in Proving Grounds, again, you can make a couple types of builds. You can build into Radiant. Radiant actually stacks with high energy fire and it stacks with Font of Might. So if I'm running solar weapons, which in Proving Grounds I was running this scout rifle, which is solar, and I was running Cataclysmic, which is solar. So I actually ran Font of Might because I was picking up lots of solar wells. Where is Font of Might? So that's a 25% damage bonus to my solar weapons. Plus, when I pick up that well, I gain Charge with Light from Elemental Charge. Adding another thing in postscript, I filmed this video right before the new patch notes for Solstice went live. And in those patch notes, Bungie fixed the interaction between high energy fire and Radiant. They used to stack, Radiant being 25% damage bonus and high energy fire being only 20%. They now do not stack. So in the video here, I was talking about that interaction of stacking Font of Might with high energy fire with Radiant. That got nerfed. So if you're running things that make you Radiant, you probably don't even want to run high energy fire anymore. I think Radiant will still stack with Font of Might, but it will not stack with the 20% damage buffs like Empowering Rift and high energy fire. So I just wanted to throw that out there. That being said, that makes building into ignitions like my build is even better, because now you can't get that crazy weapon damage that you could right before the Solstice patch. But again, this one is all about ignitions because the ad clear is amazing. And if you're getting lots of ignitions to go off, then you're doing just as much or more damage as your weapons would be doing. It's actually crazy. So Elemental Charge is nice because we're spawning lots of wells with our grenades, and then we pick those up, and then we're charged with light, so we have high energy fire up a lot. And again, whatever your heavy is, that's probably what I would run for a scavenger. I'll be running a rocket in Arms Dealer, and I'm probably going to run a bow in Warden of Nothing. So that's what I would run for ammo finders. And obviously I was running Linear Fusion when I did Proving Grounds. So that's fairly straightforward. If you don't need Font of Might, if you're like in this one this week, I had 2 Void weapons, then Seeking Wells is a nice alternative. It has to be an Arc chest piece, which is really good this season because you can run Armor of the Dying Star, which covers solar and void damage. And then you can run Arc Resistance, so you have all 3 covered on an arc piece this season. I highly recommend running these. That between 100 resilience and these, you're actually very tanky in grandmasters. And then on the class item, I already went through it. Obviously, I'm just running minor mobility because that's the only minor mod that would tick me up on a tier. But then Well of Life is very good. Picking up a solar elemental well grants increased regeneration for a short period of time. So basically, it gives like a mini version of Restoration. So something like Classy Restoration, I'm not running it in this build because we're going all in on ignitions. And this kind of gives us like a welfare version of Classy Restoration. So it's pretty good. So overall, that is the build. It's extremely strong. I'll just go over a couple of the weapon loadouts I used. Like I said, in Proving Grounds, my loadout was this. If I was an Arms Dealer, I'm probably going to go with this. This is just nice for taking out those Threshers. Linear Fusions don't do as well against them. And I just like rockets. There's also Void Shields in there, so I'll run a Void Scout. I might run Aisha's Embrace, don't know, but it'll be a Void Scout. And then Arbalist is actually so amazing. Obviously, we all know it's amazing. But what's so nice about it is it one-shots barrier shields, so it's so easy to get off Revitalizing Blast on like a Barrier Colossus or something. When I ran Insight Terminus, I had Outbreak perfected, and it does take like 4 bursts and sometimes more bursts from a distance because the range isn't amazing on this. And that would be costly sometimes because then you can't proc the ignition instantly like you want. So this will be my Arms Dealer loadout. And then I think starting this week is Warden of Nothing. So that has all 3. So I'll probably run Anti-Barrier Pulse, Overload Trace Rifle. There is a couple Void Shields, and I will cover that with Leviathan's Breath. But a Trace Rifle and its Solar Burn, this thing could actually be pretty good in there. I guess we'll see this week whenever I get time to run it. So that's that loadout. And yeah, that's pretty much it. This build gives a lot of flexibility. It is good in any manner of high-end content. The ignitions do so much damage. You're pretty much covered for any champion stunning mods that you need. Like I said, you only have to swap out like Seeking Wells for Font of Might to build into solar weapon damage if you wanted. It's got healing with Well of Life. It's got ignitions. It's got high energy fire for high damage from your weapons. It's just, this build is just so versatile. And if you didn't want to build fully into, like if you wanted to play a little safer, all you'd have to do is swap this off with Classy Restoration. Again, I showed you how you can have pretty much unlimited rifts. So you could just put Classy Restoration on and have great survivability. Between 100 Resilience and Classy Restoration, you're almost unkillable even in Grandmasters. So it's really crazy. So anyways, I've played around a lot with this build. I wanted to make this video later because I wanted to solo the Arms Dealer, which I know this build is going to wreck in, and I wanted to solo Warden of Nothing first with it. But I'm super busy this summer with work, and I actually just had a random night off here for the first time in over a week. So I thought I'd just get this video out on the build now in case anyone out there wanted to get a detailed breakdown of what I've been using in the GMs to solo them. So that's the breakdown. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, then a like and subscription would be greatly appreciated. And if you made it this far, then I just thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoy Solar Warlock as much as I am. It's so awesome. I'm also probably going to test the Bonk Titan in Warden of Nothing just to see how it holds up in high-end content. So if I can beat it, then stay tuned for that, but we will see. Anyways, like I said, thank you so much for watching. Take care.